If you're on a GLP-1 and you've noticed that things are feeling a little bit quieter, or if you're considering one and wondering how it might affect you mentally and emotionally, I want to share something from my own experience. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jennifer, and I have been on a GLP-1 treatment since February 22nd, 2025, and I am currently down 95 pounds. So not too far from that 100-pound goal. Not sure that I'm going to actually make that before February 22nd. And I might address that at some point as to why I think that is most likely the case. But I am probably a fairly average responder. At one point, I was averaging over 2 pounds a week, and now I'm right at maybe 1.8 pounds, somewhere in that vicinity, on average. Now, that's the average. The past month has been a test of my patience, to say the least. I've been hovering right around that 210 mark, not really fluctuating too high or too low. And this might be too much information if you're a gentleman who's watching. You can ignore this next part, but for the ladies watching, when I would start my cycle, I would usually spike up 1 to 3 pounds. This last cycle, which I'm currently in, I didn't spike at all. So that is showing some metabolic resilience. So that is actually very encouraging to me that I didn't spike up really high. And I'm noticing that the fluctuations most often are tied to my lack of sleep, which causes cortisol issues. So then the aldosterone goes up and all the hormones. I won't get into all that, but right now, holding steady, 95 pounds down. There's no shame in that. I'm very happy with that. I would like to lose probably another 30 pounds, and then I can recalibrate. I can reassess what the rest of my treatment is going to be like. For me, this is going to be a lifelong treatment. So I know other people have made other decisions for themselves, but for me, this is going to be a lifelong treatment. And so I don't think that there is a sprint towards a finish line. There's no real finish line for me. But looking ahead, I'm going to get back into weightlifting. I had done some weightlifting and then kind of got off the rails a little bit because I had a foot injury because of the weight loss I had been losing, and my feet were like, sister, you got to give us a break. You can't go out and walk 2 miles and think you're going to conquer the world. Some people are out there walking 4 miles, getting 10,000 plus steps, and good for you. But my body, gave me a white flag. And so I had to yield to that. And I think it's very good to listen to your body, listen to what it needs, and to treat your body with care, because you only have one home to live in. With that being said, I want to get the housekeeping notes out of the way. This is not medical advice. I am not a doctor or a therapist or any kind of specialist or nutritionist. I am simply someone walking this road and paying attention to what's happening along the way. So for most of my adult life, my brain was never quiet. Well, even before I became an adult, my brain was never quiet. And if you ask my family, my mouth probably was never quiet either. There was always something running in the background, whether it was lists or conversations that I was replaying, things I needed to do, things I wish I had handled differently, projects around the house waiting for me to finish them. And layered on top of that was other real life, working full time, managing shifting schedules, coordinating a bustling household, keeping track of who needed to be where and when, groceries, laundry, emails, deadlines, appointments. You catch the drift. The invisible mental load of keeping all the plates spinning in the air, everything moving. And I was like, if I stop doing any of this and it all comes crashing down, it's all my fault. So there was a lot of mental capacity. And the thing is, my brain wasn't chaotic. It was just constantly engaged. There wasn't really an off switch, or there was rarely an off switch. Even trying to go to sleep at night, my brain was just tick, 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 tick. It was like the NASDAQ going across the top of my brain. Like if somebody had like a little screen here, like an LED screen, you would just see these thoughts racing across my brain at all times. And then woven through all that, sometimes loudly, sometimes subtly, was food. Not just that not just like what we're having for dinner, what are we having for dinner? But when I would eat, how much I would eat, whether I had been good, whether I'd overdone it, whether I needed to start over on Monday. And then there was that judgment piece, whether real or perceived, okay? I was thinking to myself, well, if I eat this, what are other people going to think? Are they watching me? Will they assume that I'm lazy, undisciplined, out of control? Am I being watched, evaluated, judged? All of that. And like I said, it could have been real. I'm sure that there were some people who are like, look at that chick. Why does she have that on her plate? She shouldn't be eating that, right? When it was, and maybe not. Maybe it was just me thinking, gosh, I really probably shouldn't be eating this. Maybe I should go get a salad, some celery sticks. Like, I don't know, just drink a glass of water and be done with it. So food noise isn't always about the craving, the actual obsession with food itself. It's also like the social mechanisms surrounding food, like the whole food culture. And sometimes it's about negotiation. Sometimes it's about self-monitoring. And sometimes it's about trying to manage stress or feel boredom or soothe the edges of like a really long day. For me, food wasn't necessarily joy. It wasn't about joy or even celebration. It was about regulation. So for me, food was a stress reliever. I was a stress eater. I was a boredom eater. When the day felt overwhelming, food helped like soften the edges. When I was restless or mentally overloaded, food filled the space. So again, it wasn't really about celebration. It was about relief. I needed like this mental relief. And it was kind of like that was the pressure valve, like to like let it all go. So when I took my first injection, I really didn't have any kind of expectation. I wasn't expecting anything dramatic mentally. But within a day or two, I woke up and something felt very different for me. It wasn't emotional and it wasn't really like intense. It was just quiet. Not even like a peaceful quiet. It's kind of hard to explain, but it was just like space. Like I just broken through the atmosphere and just I'm in space, like this vast space. So the best way I can describe it, maybe beyond like a shooting rocket ship out of the universe or out of the atmosphere into the universe, was walking into a completely white room, white walls, no windows, no noise, just an open space, just openness. And in the middle of the room, there's this table, and on the table is a marker. And at first, it's like very unfamiliar, a little unsettling, because for so long, my thoughts had just been layered one on top of the other, another, especially around food and my body and managing stress through consumption. And suddenly, that constant hum wasn't there. And I remember thinking, what in the freaking world is this? Like, what is going on? and and I wasn't panicked. I was just very like, I'm not sure what to do with this. Like, my NASDAQ ticker is blank. It's not running. What's happening to my brain? So I was just very curious about it because my brain obviously was operating very differently than what I had been accustomed to for decades. Now, I'm going to say this because it's important. For some people, food is a major source of dopamine. And, it comes with anticipation and satisfaction and comfort and all of those emotional things that are tied into it. And when that stimulation shifts, they may notice other pleasure responses recalibrating for a bit. For me, it was less about losing joy and more about losing a coping mechanism. It wasn't my only coping mechanism, but it was one of them, especially when it came to stress. And that distinction mattered. So again, some people go for it for like this dopamine hit. Mine was like a release valve. So because what I eventually realized is that the white room wasn't emptiness, how I initially felt like this vast openness. It was actually like that room was symbolic of room in my brain. So for many years, so much mental energy had been consumed by negotiation and self-talk and stress soothing and eternal commentary. When that softened, it created space I hadn't experienced in a very long time. And that white room, I could write anything I wanted on the walls. I could think creatively. I could plan something meaningful. I could sit in stillness. I could rest. I could simply exist without constantly calculating my next decision around food. That shift can look different for everyone. Some people notice pleasure recalibrating. Some notice cravings disappearing. Some notice silence where there used to be constant internal dialogue. But almost everyone I've spoken to notices something. And here's what I've learned. When a long-standing coping mechanism changes or system changes, your brain needs time to adjust because you're not changing just what you eat. You're changing how you regulate stress, boredom, reward, and sometimes identity. For a lot of people struggling with overweight and obesity, there's an identity tied to food. And that's significant. For me, movement helped. Creating helped. Meaningful conversation helped. Building something helped. And sometimes, very important, a nap helped. My joy didn't disappear. It wasn't coming from the same place anymore. So I found joy in other things. I was able to easily transition from one source to another. But again, my joy didn't come from food a whole lot. But recognizing, even if that is what your struggle might be, recognize that it's not true loss. It's transition, and give yourself grace to go through this transition. Now, I do want to say something really important. And again, I am not a healthcare provider. I am not a therapist, but as a human being who cares about the well-being of others, if the quiet ever turns into numbness, hopelessness, or feeling disconnected from everything, that's not something that you need to muscle through on your own. That's when it's really wise to loop in a therapist, a provider, someone you trust, because there's a difference between recalibration and distress. And there is strength in support. So get the support you need if you're feeling any kind of distress, numbness, hopelessness, anything like that, where you are kind of going into the depths of darkness, do not go that alone. Please seek out some professional help, or tell a trusted friend that you think you might need some help. But if what you're experiencing is simply space where there used to be noise, I do want you to hear this as well. You did not lose yourself. You lost a layer of unnecessary burden that had been crowding you for years. I know this from going through this almost a year now. At first, it feels pretty uncomfortable because you're not really sure what to do with all the space, but know that you are rewriting your future. You are now in control of what's being written on the walls of your brain, what's going on with your metabolism, your future health, all of that. So what's happening now, again, is you're making room to breathe, room to think clearly, room to make decisions without this constant negotiation. Well, if I eat this today, then I'm going to have to not do that tomorrow. Or, if I eat, this piece of cake, then I'm going to have to be on the treadmill another 30 minutes. That's really punishing yourself, rather than making a decision like, today, this is what I'm going to enjoy. And then I just start from here and go forward. No looking back. That was a choice, and I have a life to live. So don't continue this negotiation with yourself, because it's really punishment. And you also have room to express who you are without food and weight sitting in the center of every single thought. It is so freeing. And so learning how to live in that space takes time. It takes grace. It takes patience. It takes consistency. It takes choosing yourself over and over again. And that is not selfish. Okay, I want you to hear that. It's not selfish to choose yourself over and over again, because you only have one home to live in. The one that you've been given, the one that you were born in. But that white room, it isn't empty. It's possibility. It's all about perspective. If this resonated with you, I'd love to know, what did the quiet feel like for you? And if food noise was once your nemesis, drop a brain emoji in the comments so that we know that we're not alone in this. I'm going to keep sharing these types of conversations quietly, honestly, and without judgment. And if you would, please subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you can get more of this content. If you would like to share this journey with me, walk this road with me, and share about yourself. I would love to learn who you are, where you're at in your GLP-1 treatment, or if you're considering a GLP-1 treatment, if you have any questions about it, I'd love to help you. I'm not affiliated with any companies. I take Zepbound from Eli Lilly. And so my insurance, I'm very thankful, covers that. But if we can have any kind of conversation, I would welcome that. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.